In this video, I want to discuss what you should expect to make with residential assisted living. I will give a couple scenarios and break them all down for you all, so if you're interested, make sure to stick around. What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Serge. Welcome to the channel. To all my recurring viewers, thank you so much for all the love and support that you have all shown this channel. If you have not yet, feel free to go check out the God Made podcast. I will link it down below. You could go check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., all the streaming platforms. I am releasing a lot more episodes, so feel free to go check that out. Also, if you have not yet, feel free to check out Legion Assisted Living Academy and Legion Assisted Living Advisors. Both of these links will be down below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and actually jump into this video. Now, this is a very good question that I get very often. What people should be expecting to actually net every month with residential assisted living and how they would do that. And so I'm gonna give you guys a few scenarios and walk you guys through them. But first I wanna start off with that each place will be different. Each home is going to be different based off their demographic, who is in that area, how well that area performs, and if there's actually enough demand for residential assisted living. So the best way to determine that is to actually see how many facilities are in that area. Now, if there aren't a lot of facilities in a certain area, there's probably a reason for that. People do run their compositions on certain areas to make sure that it makes sense financially to start in that area, to make sure that the demand is there, that the demographic is there, and that their clientele is there. So if there's not a lot of residential assisted living facilities around you, or there's not a lot of senior centers around the area that you have your current home or a home that you're looking to do, then it's probably a sign that you may not have very good luck actually having a profitable business there. So you would have to dig in a little bit deeper. What does that mean? You will look at the demographics. So essentially what you want to do is target the people who actually have elderly parents, and also if there's a lot of elderly there and elderly population there. And so for instance, I'm gonna give you guys an example with myself. I am in the Mesa Gilbert area. Mesa is actually well known for the elderly population. Reason being is because the cost of living here in Mesa is nowhere compared to what the cost of living is in Paradise Valley, Arizona, and Scottsdale, Arizona, and so forth. Taxes here are a lot less expensive, etc. So a lot of elderly have decided to retire in Mesa. And the nice thing is that Gilbert itself is actually an up-and-coming city, and there's a lot of younger people here, probably in their 30s and 40s, moving here with their families. So what does that mean? That's a perfect example of targeting both of these populations, right? Elderly are the ones, that's the clientele, those are the residents that are going to be coming into your facility. The 30 to 40-year-olds are the sons and daughters of this elderly population, the baby boomers. They're also considered Generation X, so Xers. So these are the two populations that you want to actually look at, right? Then you want to dig it just a little bit more deeper, and you want to look at the average income of both of these populations, mainly the kids of the baby boomers. You want them to have at least an average income of $75,000 or more. Reason being is because they'll be able to actually afford the price point that you want to set for your facility per bed. And that is something that I think a lot of people overlook, and they don't take that in consideration. They think that they can just start a home anywhere, and just because a home can get zoned and licensed does not mean it's going to perform very well as a business. And you also want to be careful that you don't get into an area that is too saturated, meaning there's too many care homes in that vicinity of the home. Reason being is because competition, which there's going to be competition in every industry, is going to be a lot more, meaning there's going to be a lot more different options for families to go see, for families to pick out of. So when there's not a lot of options within your vicinity, let's say an average of 5 solid facilities, then you're pretty, I would say 5 to 10. And you would be in a really good position to actually stand out and be different, because each person is going to be different on how they tour the homes, how they actually talk to the families, how they present themselves. Each home is going to have its unique look. Each home is going to have certain caregivers, and families will be able to notice that right off the bat. How clean the home is, how nice the caregivers are, if they're actually talking to them when they're coming and doing the tour, how the residents are in the facility, if they're actually happy, talking, doing things, etc. And then also what other people have to say about the facility, right? There may be families while they're touring, right? So they may end up saying a word to the family, or the family may end up saying a word to the family touring. And then also the residents, if they're alert and oriented, will have something to say about the facility as well. So those are things to keep in mind when you're actually looking. So let's go ahead and actually talk about what you all should expect. So keep in mind all the stuff that I just mentioned, because this is how you're going to be able to determine that you're going to have a very profitable residential assisted living. Because if you look at the average income of the Xers, Generation X, and they have an average income of $75,000 a year, they're in a really good position to be able to at least afford a $3,500 rate per private room, and for their loved one, for their mom or dad, or aunt, uncle, whatever the case is. So you will pretty much be guaranteed to fill your beds up at that rate, given the average income that each family will have in that location. Yes, you may end up getting into a location where the average income isn't that. That means you lower your rates. You're not going to get the rates that you're hoping for. So you want to keep that in mind when you're opening up residential assisted living. Now, on an annual basis is what most of these homes go off of. It's hard to determine because each month is going to be different depending on what happens in those months. For instance, a resident may end up passing away, a resident may end up moving out. Whatever the case may be, you're going to have to account for vacancies. And there's going to be other months where you end up taking respite stays, right? And you fill that bed back to back with a $5,000 resident, for instance, back to back, and that's an extra $10,000 that you make that month on top of what you're making off of your other residents. So it's going to vary quite differently, but in most cases, the average care home is bringing home on an annual basis 25% of their gross income. So they're most likely going to net anywhere between 40 to 50,000 on a $150,000 gross income. So just keep that in mind. That's roughly about, that's a little bit higher than 25%. In most cases, if you're running a business pretty successfully and you're doing what I just mentioned and you got yourself into a really good location, you're most likely going to be able to actually hit higher than 30% of your gross income. So that's what you should all expect to be making roughly. I try to shoot way under just so I can give you guys a more realistic number. You're probably not going to make more than 25% on your first year. If you probably won't even break even on your first year. On average, most businesses don't break even until after 2 years. So just keep that in mind. When you're starting a business, you need to take this all into consideration. And I just want to be honest with you all that it all depends on how aggressive you are in your business and how involved you are in your business, and making sure that you have the right team built around you to be able to hit this quota, time and time again. And so I will probably eventually run through my numbers and tell you guys exactly what I made my first year and my second year. I'm going on to my third year now, so I'm curious to see exactly how my third year goes, and then I can give you guys a really good ballpark of exactly what I've been able to make with my residential assisted living from the first year to the third year, and then break that down for you guys and exactly what I was able to do. So make sure you subscribe and you like this video if you found it very informative. I really appreciate it. Feel free to share it with everybody that you think would be interested in all of this. And make sure you go watch all these other videos for me. And again, I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you all in the next video. God bless.